Okay, in this little webinar, I actually just want to cover the Windows Virtual PC and specifically the new Windows XP mode. Both of these are new Windows 7 technologies. I really just want to differentiate how these are different from what we've had in the past with Virtual PC, like 2007, etc., and how we're going to use them and why do we even have them. So my name is John Saville. I'm a senior architect for EMC. I run the NTFAC. And most recently did a book on Windows Server 2008. So the important bits. So what is Windows Virtual PC? This isn't Virtual PC 7 or anything like that. The name is Windows Virtual PC. And then what is Windows XP mode? So we have these two separate technologies I'm sure you've heard of. And also, how does it apply to MEDV, which you may have heard about, which again is a desktop virtualization solution from Microsoft. So when do we use which technology? So why do you even need these things? I mean, we're basically talking about Windows 7 here, the latest, the greatest, the cure-all client operating system. So why are we hearing the words XP? So we look at the capabilities of Windows Virtual PC. What does it share in common with like Virtual PC 2007? And then what is it similar to Hyper-V, if at all? Look at some of the new features specifically, i.e. seamless applications, how we handle network connections. Look at some of the Aero capabilities we have, because we can now actually have the Aero themes, etc. in this virtual machine. And to be honest, I've done some slides, but mostly it's more useful just to see this stuff in action. And so we'll actually look at this in a demo environment, and actually so you can really see it. So what is Windows Virtual PC? So this is the new version of Virtual PC. This is not a hypervisor, a Hyper-V version. And it's not even really a true hypervisor in many ways. It's something that is still sitting on top of Windows 7. It's an advancement of the Virtual PC product line. It runs on Windows 7 Home Basic, Home Premium, Enterprise, Professional and Ultimate. This is a Windows 7 only feature. And it's actually going to be, it's in the release candidate stage as I'm recording this. And will actually be available as kind of like an update to Windows 7. And then once it's actually installed as an update, you'll add and remove it via the Programs and Features control panel applet and actually just see it there as a feature of Windows 7. The short name, WinVPC or WVPC, because the naming is Windows Virtual PC. So this will not work on XP or Vista. Now, I said it's not a new version or any similarity with Hyper-V, but it does still require hardware virtualization. So it does need the AMD V or the Intel VT capabilities on the processor and enabled on the processor. And there's the link. So you basically go to the Microsoft.com Windows Virtual PC website, and that's where actually we can go and download Windows Virtual PC when it's finally available, and you can actually go and get the RC right now. So essentially, Windows Virtual PC is the evolution of the Virtual PC product line. It's a client-side virtual solution. You'll use Hyper-V for your server, your real production brunt virtualization workloads. Windows Virtual PC is very much designed for the client to run specific types of workload. And then we have this XP mode you've probably heard of. So XP mode is essentially a virtual machine that Microsoft are providing to you. It has Windows XP SP3, basically sysprepped prepared in that image, and it's automatically activated. And essentially when we install XP mode, it goes and creates a new virtual machine on our Windows 7 machine that has Windows Virtual PC installed. It runs through a little mini setup wizard to create a credential that can automatically be logged on. And it then gives us an XP 32-bit environment on our machine. Now, XP mode is only available for Windows 7 Professional, Ultimate and Enterprise. It will not run on the other versions. It's not licensed on the other versions. you're going to require basically an additional 1 gig of RAM and 15 gig of available disk space. You want to just allocate for running this virtual machine. Now, this is very much designed for small and medium-sized businesses, and essentially the goal is to give us an XP environment running 32-bit on our Windows 7. It is an unmanaged virtual machine by default. We're basically installing a standalone non-domain joined Windows XP OS as a virtual machine on our Windows 7 box. When we actually install the XP mode, it does prompt us to enable automatic updates and, I say, create that credential, but aside from that, it's unmanaged. We could go and join it to a domain. You won't see any real negative effects of that, but by default it is this unmanaged standalone XP virtual. So why are they doing this? We're forging ahead with our great Windows 7 is, and yet we're creating an XP, not even a Vista, we're creating an XP mode. Well, essentially the reality of the situation is a lot of the client base that's going to go to Windows 7 is running XP. The Vista adoption was not huge, so we have a lot of clients and companies running XP that are happy with it, and they have a lot of applications and processes that work on XP. If we want to adopt a new client operating system, the work is not really upgrading the client machines. I mean, there's effort involved. There's deploying an OS deployment solution like Windows Deployment Services or System Center Configuration Manager. There's technologies we have to consider, like backing up the user profiles, data that's on the local machines. But really the big workload is testing the applications. Are they compatible with Windows 7? And so the big deal about XP mode is designed to allow us to run applications that have not been tested or don't work with Windows 7. And that's why we don't have a Windows Vista mode. I mean, most companies are running XP, the applications work on XP. Vista has the same compatibility challenges as Windows 7, so giving us a Vista mode wouldn't really help us. The issue is most applications run on XP. If they don't work on 7, they're not likely to run on Vista either. And so what this basically gives us, it gives us this environment that applications that won't run on 7, or we've just not got time to test them, we can run them in this XP mode. And it's not even that maybe they don't run on Windows 7. What if we're deploying 64-bit Windows 7 machines and we have a 32-bit application that just doesn't work as on the 64-bit? Well, again, this is very useful in that scenario, that we can now run this virtual environment as 32-bit, so we can run certain applications in that 32-bit OS. So essentially, this is really going to accelerate and facilitate the adoption of Windows 7. It's not going to be such a big deal that, well, we can't adopt 7 because we've got to do all this regression testing of applications, or we need to wait for these new versions of the applications to be available. It's basically a way of saying, well, look, don't worry about that. It doesn't work on Windows 7, never mind. Install Windows Virtual PC, install Windows XP mode, Microsoft are giving you this license, run all those applications that don't work in 7 in XP. Now, over time, hopefully that regression testing would get done. Software, ISVs, etc. will come out with new versions that will work on 7, and then you can remove the applications from the XP environment and just put them natively on Windows 7. So this shouldn't necessarily be a long-term solution, but it's something that's going to get us the enablement to get this Windows 7 as soon as possible. It's not a huge CPU hit. If you consider that maybe I had 4 applications I want to run, well, I'm still only running 4 applications